John Cena.
Mick Jagger of wrestling, just hardest working guy, amazing. Like I said, I can't just say one word. The guy learned Chinese fluently, like fluent Mandarin, to improve business relations. You know what I mean? Like, what does that say? That's insane. So very happy for his success.
Kane.
Kane, paintball. A lot of people wouldn't know that he was at one time. He might still be a big paintball enthusiast.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That makes me chuckle when I think of that. Wow.
Stevie Richards and I did a loop. We were in Knoxville. As far as I know, he still lives there. Kane, not Stevie. And because they're on tighter terms than Kane and I were, but I was, riding with Stevie, we all went to eat together, and then he took us to see his house that he was building, and he pointed out how he had lots of acreage because that's for paintballing. Him and his buddies go paintballing, and I thought, like, well, you're quite a big target.
Yes. Yeah.
But that could also be intimidating, seeing him coming through the woods, Yeah.
Like doing this, and all the paintball guns go off at once.
That'd be amazing. I guess they make paint grenades, but to set off just a paint explosion, man, that would be awesome. Wild. But always had really, really good interactions with him, man. Always, say what you will about his politics, but I always really liked the guy.
Shout out to Stevie Richards. He's been on the show.
Stevie's great.
I met him. I started wrestling school on a Friday. The following Friday, I met Stevie. So I've known him for 32 years. Yeah.
Just one of the best human beings. Absolutely. Love Stevie.
Chris Jericho.
I'm trying not to censor or mute myself now, but don't always meet your heroes. Don't always meet your heroes.
Batista.
I love Jericho as a kid.
Yeah.
As you start to work with guys, you see different sides of them.
I'm not trying to cut you off. I just didn't know if you wanted to continue.
I mean, no. He'll talk about himself enough, I'm sure. What am I going to add to it? Batista, you said? Batista, yeah. Awesome, gracious, super talented. He's just a class act, absolute class act. Always got along with him. Very happy. He's probably the best of the wrestling actors, besides myself. But yeah, I'm really excited to see his. I mean, he's skyrocketing. He's working with the top directors. He's doing great projects. He's not just showing up as he just has to be Batista,
right.
Which is kind of like the Rock's thing, he's the Rock in every movie. Well, Batista's actually acting in these films, and he's picking great stories and great material. And so I'm really happy for him because he was just always a real class act. He'd always invite me out. If there was a get together after the show, he would invite me out. He was the kind of guy who would pick up the tab without telling you. I'm just nothing but good things about him. Really, really happy for him. So
CM Punk.
Self-inflated politicker. Yeah, I mean, the less said, the better.
Right. What else we got? Undertaker.
Kind of like the Don Corleone of the locker room. I think just such a highly respected. There's nobody more respected in the locker room than him. But he's got his people that'll do his bidding, and try and teach people lessons, and he'll keep his hands clean. And I mean, personally, I always got along really, really good with him because I think we're both Texas guys, and he saw how hard I worked, and I always respected the hell out of him, even though I wasn't going to go up and like kiss his ass. I would certainly take his advice, but I wasn't going to latch on and kind of be one of those guys who would like hang on to his trench coat in hopes that he'd throw me some crumbs. Um, but yeah, I mean, I remember flying back from somewhere, and we both would fly into Austin because that's where we lived. And he met my folks who had come to pick me up. I can't remember if we were coming back from a tour or something, but just sat there, and he stood there for a few minutes and had a really good conversation with my folks and put me over. And I thought, like, this is surreal. But I'd also seen, people cross him unintentionally, and next thing you know, their clothes would be thrown in the shower, and there's all this kind of crap. And I don't know. A lot of people look at him as like he was like the locker room leader, but I looked at more so like Eddie Guerrero was like the locker room leader in my estimation. Um, Taker was just kind of like, I guess everyone just kind of feared him, and with good reason. I mean, he'd been there the longest, and he's the ultimate legend, and whatnot. It was unfortunate I never got to work with him, but um, definitely respect him. But yeah, you don't want to cross the Don.
Triple H.
Um, I don't know. So many things that can be said about him. I mean, he married well. I don't know. He's a smart guy. He knew where to inject himself and climb that ladder of power. He and I always had kind of a weird, goofy friend, like not friendship, but just kind of a relationship. Um, there was never really much heat there, but I don't know. He seemed to have his thumb on me. And, there were times when I'd ask him, I was like, when do we get to have a match? Like, I want to wrestle you, Hunter. Like, when do we get to have it? Oh, it's not up to me. Oh, it's not up to me. Okay, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. You know what I mean? Damn well if you said you wanted to.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's the most honest guy. But I don't know why he wouldn't be able to just tell me straight up or what his deal was. I don't know what that is. But funny enough, he and I have the same initials. Like our first and middle name are the same, but our initials are PML. Our first two names are Paul Michael. The only difference is just our last names, but they both start with an L. So when we'd travel overseas, I found myself getting all these extravagant rooms. I remember in South Africa, we were down in Cape Town, and I had like this bungalow, like out in the jungle or something, away from the main building. And I had Brian and I can't remember, maybe Jimmy Yang came over, and they're like, "What the hell?" I'm like, "What? Your rooms aren't like this?" They're like, "No." And I was like, "Well,
That's
stick with me,
awesome.
guys. You'll go
Yeah.
far." But like, I kept getting these crazy rooms. And then later on, I was walking down the hallway. I can't remember where this is some other tour, and Hunter was like, "How you like them rooms, London?" I was like, "Oh no!" She goes, "Don't worry about it." And he walked off, and I thought, like,
So
the
he had your
hell?
room.
I don't think he would have. I think he would have just got another
Right.
suite for himself or something. I don't really know. I can't imagine that he would have just been like, "Well, that's the breaks." Like, I feel like he would have done something about it, but I can't. There's no rationale for why I had these extravagant rooms.
That's awesome.
It wasn't every time, but they were more often than not. That I was just like, "Huh, that's weird." I know the office doesn't like me like this. Like, I know I'm serviceable, but like, the hell, this is. Yeah, I'll take it.
That's funny.
Yeah, and we just, I had hopes to actually work with him, and I mean, again, he was a guy that I liked watching when I was coming up. I liked him more as like a snob character or whatever, and he's doing the bow and all that. But yeah, there was a period where he was with China, and they were doing like "It's My Time" and all that kind of stuff. Like that, I was pretty into it. But again, it's like don't always meet the people that you look up to the most. Sometimes they'll tend to disappoint you. So he's doing a lot, though. I mean, he seems to be, you know, well, who knows? I mean, um, he's done a lot of recent hires that have really worked out well for the company. So, it definitely has an eye for talent.